I think people see right through that when you're a transaction agent. I just don't want that as my reputation.
So you got into real estate 2010?
9.
And
yeah.
How was it when you got into it in 09?
I did a ton of rentals because I was in the bar industry downtown in the Gold Coast. So, I mean, it was just high-end rentals. And I got certified for short sales. So it was just like a lot of work. I just like hustled. It was, I didn't do anything else. I worked around the clock and didn't have a life for like 5 years. And then after 5 years, I started that's when I got my assistant and started growing a little bit more. I was in the bar industry for probably 3 years during like overlapping, but I haven't looked back ever since. But I love it. This is what I am meant to do, I think. So I'm also an investor, so I try to buy as many places as I can, especially in this market. Yeah. Man, it's a good time to buy right now.
So 2009, short sales for 5 years.
Short sales, I would say for the first 3 years with the rentals. And then I was just then I built my business on leads from Zillow. And so I just made the system that was just converted the leads. It was all automated, that my assistant was like around the clock, and I gave her bonuses when they converted. So she would watch out for them anytime they came in. And I built my business that way.
So you transitioned though from short sales. How was that transition?
Oh God, yeah. I only did short sales the first 3 years maybe, and then I just did regular sales as the market transitioned. Change was never hard for me. And
okay, that's what I'm picking up on.
Yeah, it's never hard in my real life or in work. I actually like it, enjoy it, because I get bored.
No, that is a good strength to have, to embrace change, because every change is inevitable.
Oh God, absolutely.
You know,
you're in denial if you don't or have amnesia. I don't know which one, but yeah, it's a must. I mean, it has to be a cycle. It always is. So
you changed from short sales to regular. You had Zillow bringing in leads.
Yeah, I just learned how to convert the online leads. So it was just like a lot of hustle. I feel like it was just a lot of work. So I would say 90% of my business for the first 6 years was buyers. And now I'm like pretty 50-50, and I have a good amount of investors too, which is nice in this time because investors want to buy right now. So I have a good amount of assortment. So I'm not like screwed when this kind of stuff hits the fan. So I'm a backup plan to a backup plan kind of girl.
That's how it should be, because we're small businesses as real estate agents. It's a small business. It's not a.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't have a broker to fall back on when time gets rough.
Oh no, I don't have anything to fall back on. So besides my real estate properties, that's why I have those for my backup to my business.
Yeah.
So.
Are you still doing Zillow leads?
No, I gave up on Zillow because I did, do you know the ninja selling, the ninja training? I did that about 2 years ago, and I sort of changed my entire business and just I try to focus on 100 people, and I just spoil them and make sure that they're maximizing their investment and their taxes are, disputed and they're refinancing, and I just focus on them and like my events. I mean, I deleted like 10,000 people from my CRM, and I only have like 500, and I just focus on a small niche, like the 80-20 rule, obviously. So if you are stressful to work with or bring trauma, then I don't work with you. So I sort of changed my quality of life because I was getting burnt out for sure. So that one little change made a huge difference in my life.
Being that you're focusing, and I love it, you're focusing on your core sphere, and you say spoiling them, you're making they're taken care of. That's huge. And that's, I think, a very important part of business, in any business, but especially as a real estate agent.
Oh, yeah.
How do you follow up with them? How do you nurture that relationship? How do you spoil them?
my events are pretty awesome, but I love gift giving. Birthdays, anniversaries, closing anniversaries. I mean, I reach out to everyone. I go out to dinner at least once with everybody. It's a lot more fun and easier if you really focus on 100 people. It's that 100 people. I mean, I guess you could go 200, but I mean, I have to have my social life too. But my social life is real estate, you know? So, I mean, just working out, bringing people to Midtown. I mean, it's my life. I don't have kids. So my life is work and socializing with work. But the key is that all the people that I'm doing that with are people that I actually like to be around and actually enjoy it. So it's like quality of life and really staying in touch when they're referring their mothers and their family to me, you know? So I'm big on referrals, but this lead, I do need to keep getting in leads, because I cut off like Zillow leads, which that was a big part, because I know how to convert them, and I have a whole system that I've been tweaking for 11 years now. God, time flies. So yeah, I've just built it and I've changed it. I don't know. I have a CRM, of course. I mean, that's what tells me what to do. So I just have my systems of reaching out, and I know all the little ones' birthdays and their dogs' names, and you just really focus on 100 people, and you do it right. I think like you're able to. Anything more than that, it's just too much.
I think that makes sense. And this is a people business, and you can't.
Oh God, yeah.
You can't focus on everybody. It's better to go narrow and shallow, or in deep, than broad and shallow.
Absolutely. And you actually care about these people. Like I fight, and I will, you know, I'll do anything I can, like their family. So I think people see right through that when you're a transaction agent. I just don't want that as my reputation. So I actually do want to be known as I actually care, because I do. So I pull my whole heart in this business. So yeah, I love it. I think that's what makes me love it, though. If I didn't do this and I just did all these transactions and, you know, like I sort of used to do, I would have been burnt out and I would have changed businesses. Now I'm making it into where I'm like getting involved in the community and the schools and really digging into my community and my 100 people and loving it.
Do you do any personalization to any of your follow-up? Do you do personal cards? Do you do?
Oh yeah.
I
write a card almost every day.
You'll write a card every day?
Almost, yeah. If not, my assistant's my sister, and we have the same handwriting too. So I have a lot of templates for different things, and then I have client appreciation gifts, and all my clients get touched at least quarterly, if not more. But yeah, a lot of personal stuff, a lot of like, I don't know. I'm really good at getting to know somebody, because I mean, I'm having dinner. I have all these Zoom calls. I mean, a lot of my clients are even reaching out to me to make sure I'm okay. Like right now with this crisis, it's like, I don't know. I feel like they're almost family. So, yeah, I feel like I definitely need to, I do personalize everything. Everything's personalized. I think that's the whole point of doing marketing. I never do the just sold or sold X amount, or none of that has ever came out of my marketing.
Yeah, I always say when we focus on the numbers in our marketing, it's all about numbers, right? Like when there's not a personal connection, it's all about how many houses I sold. They're all about me. I'm so awesome because I did so many amazing things.
Yeah, it's not my style. I don't have a selfie on my Facebook page, so that's just not my style.
Oh, and
I think it's in the same realm. It's sort of weird to me. I don't know. I don't do it.
Are you reaching out to your clients as well? And past clients?
Yeah, I mean, all of them are outreach of, like this time I like sent out an email and emailed each one individually, so they're not like on a big CC, but basically offering them a real estate review in this time, because everyone's struggling. So I'm like, okay, I want to help. The only way I know how to help is real estate. So let me look at your last mortgage statement. Let me see if you should refi. Let me see if you should dispute your taxes, if you have your homeowner's exemption, things like that. Just trying to help everyone out. And that was a really good reaction. But so I'm actually really busy right now doing these real estate reviews, because they're time consuming. So I'm teaching my assistants how to do a lot of them so they can help me out.
Wow. It sounds like you're going to do well with whatever happens. I'm not,
I'm not too worried, but I do want to feel like 2 of my brokers have families. So it's just like, I don't want to get to the point where I can't keep them busy the entire time. So I feel like I need to, if it was just me again, I I wouldn't have to start anything new, but why not start anything new? So I think this will be, it like just gets my level of respect a little higher, and I was going to do it anyways. This is sort of perfect for me because I can't write. That's my weakness. I'm more of a people's person. Like my brain I'm numbers. I don't do writing. So, which is silly to even say because anyone, I guess, could write a book if they just put their mind to it.
Yeah, like everything.
A good book. Now that's a different story. But
and I think what will add to this book is your story.
Yeah.
I hear so many agents, I ask them why they got into real estate or why this, and they'll give me a copy and paste quote, treat others like I want to be treated. And to me, it sounds like kind of a backhanded compliment because it's not why. Like, tell me why. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? Why did you get into real estate? And the stories I would hear kind of illustrated that. Treat others like you would want to be treated, but how they left another job because people weren't being treated right. And they wanted to have the freedom to focus on the people they cared about in business and not be told what to do when it came to pulling money from the person's wallet.
Yeah.
And they had this story, and I was like, that's what you need to tell. That's what you tell in your bio, in your book, like your why.
Yeah.
Which goes back to Simon Sinek. You've probably heard of him.
Yeah. It's all about the why, right? I mean, people buy their homes for the why. It's part of my meet and greet buyer consultation. It's all in the selling, the ninja selling or what have you. Yeah, I love books, but I don't really do, like my sister, my cousins do like the Harry Potter and all that. And I'm just like, I'm reading tax books. I actually found a book club finally of like business books. And we're reading Shift by Gary Keller right now, which is so relieving to find a book club that is actually like books that I would read. So it's awesome.
Are they all real estate agents?
Yes, they are.
Nice.
But hey, I'll take it.
That's a great book to be reading, especially now.
It's the book to read right now. Everyone needs to read it. And it just refreshes everything that, it just puts you in line of like, okay, everything I'm doing, I'm following what this book is sort of saying, so it's good to know. I don't know. It just reassures me. It relieves anxiety, if any.
And that's important because if our brain's 50% anxiety and then we're trying to work, it's like, I got to stay sane and then get something done.
Oh God. Yeah. It starts in the brain first. If you have anxiety, you can't sit down and make something good of yourself. So yeah, I don't know. Knowledge is power, right? It just like relieves all the question. That's why I try to give that to my clients. So I don't know, but I'm doing this buyer's book, but almost as like a marketing thing. So it's like, I just want to start reading these books and try to find which one is the closest to the one I'm building, and sort of, maybe I don't even have to do the other book, and just make this what it is. But I don't know. It's a lot of like checklists from contract to close and what happens during this period and what do you have to do, what could go wrong, what could go bad. I don't know. It's just like step by step of like everything to do before closing, after closing, how to prepare. Like, it's just every list known to man and every spreadsheet you could think of is in there. So I'm a spreadsheet. My sister teases me all the time with all my spreadsheets. So
do you when you're making these points to home buyers, home sellers, do you use any story, any past experience, any metaphor, analogy?
Yeah, that's just normal talk. Yeah, of course. I feel like everyone sort of has to, like, of your past experience, or especially, it's just how people relate and talk. It's just like human interactions at this point, isn't it?
I'm surprised.
I think so.
People not using it. Like, they get so
really
with numbers and closing statements, and then you see the buyer's eyes glaze over, and it's like, just stop the conversation and do it's just like, or give them something to start, versus trying to paint a picture with no canvas.
Yeah.
In their head.
Yeah. And that's why I love, like I look at my team, like we're a team. I can't do it without my assistants and vice versa, because they give me the perspective of the consumer. And they're like, what are you talking about? I don't know. But I'm like, thank you. Please keep giving me your feedback. So I encourage them to tell me, like, if they're lost, because any consumer is going to be lost as well. So they've brought so much to the table because of that. But I feel like that's just normal. I feel like that comes naturally when you're comfortable enough because you're working with people that you actually care for. Like it all just comes normal. When you're trying to like look at somebody like a sale, then all that other crap comes out, and it's just not, you can't do that in real estate. I don't think you can. I mean, some people might be able to, but I just can't. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think of it as getting into a relationship.
Yeah, it is a relationship.
If you're just going to hook up, there may be a time for that. But like when you want to get into a relationship, you don't want to like get into a bad relationship. And I see a lot of real estate agents do that because it's just about the numbers. I want to make a sale. There's no trust. And then they're complaining they didn't close the deal, no price reduction. And then another agent came, got the price reduced, and the house sold.
Yeah.
I know, it's like start with the end.
I lose out on a lot of listings because I tell them the price I could get it for, and I do not tell them a higher price. And then I see them list it for higher and on the market forever. Like, this is the price that's going to maximize your value. And I tell them, I don't sugarcoat it. You're going to have other brokers that tell you otherwise. And you're going to remember me when your house doesn't sell. And I'm never going to tell you I told you so, but I honestly, I did my first listing presentation in like 3 years because I've never had to do one. It's just people that were like, here, I want you to sell my home. I've like, it's so bizarre. I haven't done it in so long. It was like, I was just talking to them like they were one of my other people. It was sort of like, I think I caught them off guard for sure. But these other people promised them $50,000 over asking. And I'm like, you're going to waste your time and get market time. But I wish you luck. Seriously. Like, I wish you luck. I mean, it's hard to tell, like, if somebody's promising you this amount, like, why wouldn't you take it? I'm like, they're promising you because they want your listing, but I'm not going to put my name on a high listing price. So I wish you luck. But yeah, I rather do that because it's just a waste of time anyways. And you sort of look silly when you start so high. I don't know. I just feel like I rather not take the listing because that listing is going to be so stressful. It's going to be so stressful. And it's just, I don't know. When I turned 35, it did a lot to me. And I'm like, it's not worth the stress. It's not worth it. Not worth it at all.
No, that's true. And how did it feel to be in a position to tell them like it is and walk away?
Oh, that's just me. It feels good. It always, absolutely. Absolutely. And some people, I mean, I tell even my people that go ahead and feel free to, shop around. I mean, you shop around for shoes, for God's sakes, but they usually always go with me. I mean, this is one of the first times I had to do a presentation. I'm like, I don't care. Because the way I look at it is like, if they don't trust me from that presentation, then I don't want to work with them anyways. It's just going to be hell. And it's just not worth it. Now things are a little different, but it's just like, no, I'm still probably going to hold my guns. It just, I don't know. I feel like they know that they messed up,
I think your character really shows. A lot of times.
Oh, thank you.
we do this. We hide behind books and scripts and whatever else we can find. And we don't really tell our story in the book. We don't tell what we're thinking in the script. And I think when your character shines through, it builds trust and rapport, and it's not logical because someone could go in, say the same damn thing that you say, and the people could feel like, no.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that'll show through as these times come. They want people who are going to make them feel like they're making a good decision, educate them, and then go from there. So I'm excited to see where you go.